Hello everyone, how are you doing? Welcome back to Perennial Gardens again. But in this video, I have our special guest with me who will help me explain and tell you and share with you how to start your dream perennial flowers garden. Not tomorrow, not next year, but today. And welcome, Lars and Allen. Hello. Hi, how you doing?
We are doing good, thank you. Here's a
So
little.
Allen and Lars like my kind of idol on growing perennial flowers, and that's because I like to design bouquets and flower arrangement. And when I see their perennial flowers that look unique, look different, I always imagine that, oh, I'm going to add that flowers in my bouquet and make it look so special. But I have to learn how to grow that stuff, and I'm happy to have you here. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your garden and when did you start, and why perennial flowers?
Thank you very much for the kind words.
Yes.
Yes, actually, we love perennials, as you know, on our channel, and we have lived in this city house, townhouse, like for around 7 years, and really started from scratch. There was a really kind old couple that lived here, and so yeah, we made it really our own. And before that, we have had a even bigger house, but then life happened, and then we moved to Fredericia here in Denmark, and just really started, taking the garden step by step. We didn't do it all. Like, we took each project at a time, and then kind of like wanted to find out what do we want in the garden, and kind of like, okay, we had a lawn and stuff like that, and then we kind of changed all that, and then we found out that perennials are really great because they are really hardy and they come back every year. So what's not to like about perennials?
Exactly. And when we first moved into this particular house, which is where our channel really focuses on, it was just a lawn. It was a concrete terrace. It was a typical, city garden. It was a small little border with overgrown. So yeah, we really had to start from scratch.
And we really then we found out that we do cuttings and love collecting seeds, and then everything just kind of grew from there.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit of the benefits of growing perennial flowers versus annual flowers?
Yeah, sure. So the main thing about perennials are, like I also mentioned, they are really hardy. They can withstand. Here in Denmark, it's often really cold. We have periods in winter with -10 degrees, and they're so hardy. They will just kind of like, the top will kind of wither away, and you think, wow, this plant is dead. It's never gonna come back. But then once spring comes, it will sprout from underneath again, and actually just be kind of asleep. And then it will come back every year, and it's,
So even from a financial point of view, with perennials, typically you don't have to water as much because their root system is deeper. So that's going to save you money. You don't need to compost and fertilize, because as they break down, especially with herbaceous perennials, as they lose their leaves and everything, that's going to stay on the surface, and that's going to break down and feed them. You don't have to weed as much because you can plant closer together. So there's just a lot of advantages. And then you don't have to go out to the garden store every year like you do with annuals and buy them, because perennials come back.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, because in cut flowers garden world, people, a lot of people, they don't have the choice. So they cannot wait to, let the perennials to mature and then harvest the flowers. So they grow a lot of annuals, right? But you bring a good point that it's some kind of investment. Like, you just plant it one time. You don't need a lot of compost. You don't need a lot of water, and then the flowers kind of take care of themselves. And this brings me to the next question. Like, how do we start? A lot of people here, like, feel like we are a hamster in the wheel. Is that the right? Like hamster in the wheel. Like, oh, next year, oh, we need flowers to bloom this year, so we grow zinnias, we grow marigold, we grow sunflowers. But because we keep doing this, we don't really get to start our perennial flowers like today. We just keep postponing, waiting. So can you share with us some tips of somebody who like want to start perennial flowers but struggling with, in this hamster wheel?
Yeah, I would say, like, first of all, you have to be very patient when it comes to if you grow perennials from seed, like, because some of them flower the first year and some flower first the second year. So it's all about being patient when it comes to definitely also growing perennials from seed. It just takes a lot of time. And I know a lot of people, they want to go to the nursery and like buy a plant like a perennial in bloom right away because you're so eager to get these pop of color in the garden. But it's also more expensive. You pay somebody else to have done all this work, and actually you can save money on doing it actually yourself. But yeah.
But if you are looking for a way, you mentioned getting that color right now, you can buy perennials here in Denmark anyway. You can buy perennials that are already in flower. And if you're checking that they're the self-seeding variety, so it's not a variety that is sort of sterile, but it's one that will self-seed. So you get those flowers now, you can put it in, and then don't deadhead.
Yeah.
Let them go to seed. They're going to throw that seed, and then you're going to have even more the next year. So yes, it's an investment that first year, but it will pay off.
There are, a group of people who like to study, to learn about the flowers first before you actually start growing them. Do you think it's a good idea to read a lot of books, to watch your channel, every single video before actually starting put the delphinium or lupin seed in the soil, or you think they should just start and learn along the way?
I definitely think that it helps that you kind of study a bit about also, first of all, what kind of area do you live in, what kind of plants. So it's really important, I think, and I did the same thing. Google was my best friend when I started growing all these perennials, because then you can really get to study them and see, okay, which one are, okay, it matters if they are in full sun or in shade. All those things depend on, like, if you get a really success with this kind of perennial, if it's going to bloom, if it's going to grow, if it's going to self-seed, things like that. So definitely study before you just go out and spend a lot of money or seeds on things that might not even grow then. Yeah. So yeah.
And while we would love for everyone to watch our channel, please like and subscribe. But in all honesty, we're in a zone. We're in Denmark on the East Coast, and it's comparable to like a zone 8A for the US. So if you know that you're in a zone 6 or zone 9 or zone whatever is your zone, then if you follow people that are in that zone, especially with perennial gardens, make sure that you have something every month. So what's going to flower for you in March? You could Google what perennial flowers in March in zone 6, and Google will give you a list of it. It's really that easy. But that way you'll be sure that you have something every month, and not just in July, and then you're gone in August, So that's my point,
and that exactly, answered the topic of this video, to start perennial flowers garden now, because every month there's something to start, right? And I think your video also, I think it's more universal too. You make a lot of 2 or 3 minutes video how to start each specific flowers, and perennials are tricky. All of them are different. And I would like everybody here to check out your channel still, although you're in a different zone,
There's all these different rules and
code certification.
Yeah, and Google. Don't be afraid of Googling.
So I'm gonna ask for another group that have hard time starting perennial flowers garden because they already have an established garden, and it's like a garden that's full with a lot of hydrangeas, just hydrangeas, or maybe boxwood, or maybe trees, or maybe a lot of one kind of perennials that already take all the space. So if they want to add the varieties in their garden,
definitely I would start to make a plan first, because if you just go ahead and if you have like a flower bed, like you say, with bushes or hydrangeas or whatever, or annuals, make a plan first, and then maybe start in an area. If you have a huge flower bed or like in a corner, make a plan. Okay, let's start with this left side flower bed here, because otherwise it'll be, you don't know where to start otherwise. So really make that plan, and then maybe start. by adding in some areas, like if it's annual plant flowers, for example, then add in some perennials.
But even when it comes to hydrangea, let's say it is a hydrangea bed, for example, these guys can get really quite big. Here they don't flower until August, September. So we would be looking at bringing in perennials that are flower, earlier. I know where my parents are from in Georgia, the hydrangea are like March, April, they're super early. So then you'd want something that comes later. But if you really want to get started, and if it is this huge hydrangea bed, take a few out. It's really that simple. And then you can pack that full of perennials. One thing that we do, we really love the whole cottage garden aesthetic, and we plant super close together. So maybe the packet says, or the pot says 2 feet apart. You can go ahead and divide that number by 2 and plant them a lot closer together because it's a perennial. So if you don't like it, you can dig it up in the autumn and move it somewhere else. You can get a lot more color and a lot more plant in a space than you actually think you can. But if you ask us.
I would also say some other things. And then if you take out some hydrangea, don't go ahead and just toss it out because
their
plants are really expensive. But then maybe also if you have another flower bed somewhere else, like it's nice that it repeats. Like if you have hydrangea in one flower bed, then move one or a few hydrangeas further up. So it kind of repeats. So the color scheme and the scheme of the plants repeat throughout the garden. That also gives a good I get so excited.
I was being attacked. This is what happens when he designs a garden. It's just all
over the place. And also a last thing is that also if it's rhododendron or stuff like that, really also think about what kind of soil do you have in. If it's a large bush, what is going to work really close to that one, so you just don't plant anything that needs to be in sandy soil, for example.
Is there any specific tips and tricks how to plant perennials close together? Because we here in America, I think majority of us are taught to leave some space between each plant, so there's more room to walk, there's room for the perennial to spread out a little bit, or airflow, air circulation. So would you mind share some tips how to actually plant them densely and closer together so we get more kind of flowers, we get more stems, and if if we want to cut them for orange flowers, we don't feel bad to take away the flowers from the garden?
Yeah. Well, the best tool that you're going to use is your hand. This is the best tool for deciding how far to plant your different perennials.
Yeah, that's true though. We don't really believe that there's a rule on how close they should be, but like for starters, we normally use our hand to put them close, and then yes, they grow really closely. Maybe after even one season, some perennials they need to be divided or moved a little bit after one season or 2 seasons. It also helps the soil later on, like it doesn't really dry out easily when it's so closely together, and you avoid having a bunch of weeds.
And you'd be surprised, hollyhocks, they need a lot of airflow. Dahlias, you're really great with those. They need a lot of airflow. But you'd be surprised if you feel that something is getting too close together, and if you're noticing that it needs airflow, you can easily go in and start cutting off some of those side shoots, tidy it up, even in the middle of summer. I'm responsible for the deadheading because Lars will collect seeds too early. So at the same time, if something is really taking up space or crowding out another one, and this low little guy isn't getting enough light, then you can go ahead and clip off some of that one behind it to give it some more space. They don't mind. There'll be more love and attention that you give these guys. They're just going to love it.
And then in autumn, if it's totally too close, you just dig it up and plant it somewhere else.
It's that easy.
My next question to you is for somebody who have limited budget. Okay. And I'm not sure about Denmark, but here in America, let's say perennial lupin in a pot can cost you $20. But petunia or marigold can be $4. It can be expensive. And for somebody who doesn't want to wait, to germinate from seed, because it can take like 2 years or 3 years, right? Do you have any tips or trick for saving money from doing budgeted, perennial flowers garden for somebody who, want to start?
Yeah,
100%.
So if you would go and buy one, I can hear it's really expensive over there too. And even here, nurseries, somebody else has done all the hard work, nursed these plants into bigger ones. But if you would buy one, most of them you can go ahead and divide, even like with a spade or whatever, you have a shovel. But when you come home, take it out of the plastic pot, and then you can be really tough with it. Just divide it even just in the middle, or even divide it into 4, and then you have 4 actually perennials of that kind. So that's a great way to save money on, instead of going ahead and buying so many of a full perennial.
Yeah, a lot of perennials you can do that with. Lupin, maybe it's not the best one to just cut home and divide. They don't really like to be divided because of
the taproot. Yeah,
but there are also other ways. And again, it comes back to patience. So if you're not willing to be patient, then maybe a garden of marigolds is really the best way to go. But if you are willing to be patient, you can even take a lot of cuttings. Cuttings work, seed collecting. So there are money saving ways. Or let's say that you do invest $20 this year on that perennial lupin, and that's the one you buy. You can rest assured that you'll be able to take 12 cuttings of it and collect seed, and next year you'll have 30 lupins from it. No joke. That's really how it works when you learn how to do cuttings and seed collecting. So maybe this year is the $20 lupin, and next year is the $20 salvia. Cool. Every year invest just that little much, and knowing that in a few more years you'll be able to do this. Or come visit Crane and take cuttings and collect seeds from
Yes, I'm about to say that, like have flower friend, and then we can exchange stuff. I share irises, sedum, autumn joy, all the, even echinacea, we can dig them up, divide them, and then, give to each other. So I wish we are neighbors, so I can steal some of your plants and then you steal some of mine.
We would take down the fence, would just be one big garden, but you'd have to, Jason would have to keep us out. There's not a deer fence big enough to keep us out of your garden. But sedum, for example, that's a really great one, and they root so fast when you take cuttings. So having these flower friends, and a lot of these perennials, they need to be divided. So you're actually doing your friend or your neighbor a really big help, especially hostas. You can say, hi, Susan, that hosta is way too big. Let me take half. And then just dig it up and go,
But also when you also start doing cuttings and collecting seeds, I'll promise you really, you love doing it so much, and it gives you so much pleasure. Now the whole process of waiting for and if you do it outside, and all these cuttings, if you do it when it's in growing season, they will really create roots really quickly. And you will often have flower in those cuttings the first year. And it's great about those is that it's a copy of the mother plant, compared to if you sow from seeds, then it's kind of cross-pollinate, then you don't always get the same color. So that's also.
And all that money you save, then you can come and buy a bouquet from Crane, or you keep saving and you buy a plane ticket to Denmark. Like it's.
I'll take the later one.
We'll go to Legoland. It'll be great.
So do you agree that growing perennial flowers actually save you more money? Maybe not this year, but in forever. If I have to buy lupin seed, that costs me $5. But if I buy the pot, cost me $20. But then I can cut them and sell them for and make not a lot of money, but make some money on it. So anything else to add on?
Yeah, it's about saving. We're all about saving money, and our channel isn't about saving money. Our channel isn't like gardening on a budget, because there's so much of that. Our channel and our garden is just about us, and we are naturally thrifty. It's a nice way to say cheap, right? We're naturally just money savers, and everything that we have out here was either grown from seed or from cuttings. There's very little investment that we did, because we would go to grandma's house and we take a cutting of this, and we go to auntie's house and collect seeds. And then slowly by slowly, the garden is what it is now. It wasn't like this the first year, because it couldn't be that way. It wasn't like that the second year. It was a little bit bigger. And then we slowly took up the lawn because we had more seedlings to put in. So it just takes time.
I also think that if you have a new garden, especially beginners into all this growing perennials, I suggest you wait a season before you go ahead and move this and make this flower bed. See what's actually in the garden and grow into your garden as well. Okay, where can I see myself having a bench? Okay, where's it? Like, you need to see where's the most shade in the garden during a season, or where's the sun coming, because that really depends on what perennials will thrive in your garden. If you don't know, don't just transform your garden in one season.
Yeah. Again, it's come back to patience, and I think you made a good point on the first year while you're waiting that to see the sun angle, right? To observe your environment. Maybe on that year you grow some annuals. Maybe how about like grow perennials in a pot in the first year and then transplant the second year? You think that's a good idea?
You could do that if you have the space for it, or like make a little raised flower bed or something.
But also, if it is that pot that you're talking about, you can go ahead and put it in the garden, because you can move it in autumn, or depending on the perennial, you can move it in the spring. You can move it,
That's
so
right.
you don't have to put it. You don't have to think wherever I put this is where it's going to live forever. I guarantee you 85% of the stuff out there was not there last year. This one has moved it around. You know what I mean? Like, I'll come home in the middle of a week in July and, the garden's different, because he decided to move, because something wasn't working, in all fairness. And that's the advantage of a perennial. You can move it.
Yeah.
So,
let's say if somebody who have finished this video and watched some of video on your channel, like today, after they, finish this, what is the first thing that they can do to actually start the perennial gardens, like right at this moment?
I sow perennial seeds all year round, so there's no excuse for not sowing seeds, no matter if it's winter, spring, summer. And also, just start. Don't be so afraid of like experiment with like doing cuttings and things like that, because a lot of things will happen, like you'll have success, and then there's also, even for me, like periods like, something got moldy, I overwatered. So I've also learned from my mistakes. So you're not gonna just go out and everything is just gonna be picture perfect. No, you're also gonna go uphill sometimes. So
how many plants that you have killed?
During the season, there's always plans that maybe if we went on a weekend getaway or whatever.
I'm asking this question because I'm trying to point out that we all kill a lot of plants until we get to this point, and I think you do too. I do too. A lot of gardeners do too.
If I may say, I think it's not so much once they're in the garden, they're really hard to kill, if I may say. I think
you don't kill plants?
Not really in the garden.
Oh my gosh.
There's seedlings and cuttings. When we've taken cuttings and when there's seedlings coming up, because then they're a bit more sensitive to water and heat and whatever. But literally, once they're in the garden, it's pretty hard. We also live in a place that is blessed with a lot of rain. So I must say that.
But even if it dies or like dries out in the summer, if we go 3 weeks on the summer holiday, yes, we have neighbors sometimes that come and water. They don't come every week. Like, it depends on when they have time, but some things would maybe die back. But the great thing about perennials, then they will maybe die back. You can trim it back, and it will, like, you'll give it a little water there if it's super dry, and then it will come back. That's a great thing about the perennials. So
that is like eye-opening to me, because our gardeners say that we keep killing our plants. I failed so many things in my garden, but maybe this is the main reason to grow perennial flower, is that they are too hard to be killed.
Especially if you get ones that grow in your area. You know what I mean? We're not trying to grow
like the native, right?
That's perennial to Thailand, for example. We're not trying to grow that because we're in Denmark with all this rain and this all winter. So you have to kind of know what works in your area.
But it's also the older the perennials get, they get longer roots. So because they will look for the water, so that also helps. The older they get, they're just more established.
Okay. Now, the next question is more about, it's me. It's for actually it's for me. We talk about the beautiful perennials, flowers. How about the weed perennials? And we just touched on that they are so difficult to kill them, right? how we deal with perennial weeds that spread all over our gardens by rhizome, by seed, and you guys talk about the chameleon plants, right? Can you share with me and a lot of people like me who've been battling with this, chameleon plants or any kind of invasive, perennials, especially those that spread by rhizomes?
Yeah.
So what we do, we weed in the garden really early on. Already here now it's February, but I even started looking in January. But start head on, and then hand weeding is the best. Like make sure you're getting all those roots up from the weeds you have in the garden, because the longer you wait, the more self-sowing, because the weed perennials, they will self-sow way before that the perennials get the hold of the garden. So definitely hand weeding and being really thorough with that, like 3 times early spring, and then we don't really have to do so much. But getting all the roots up are really important too.
That's one thing. We also plant really close together, so the weeds don't really have a chance. Yeah, really 3 times a year, little hand weeding before the season really starts is all we do. When it comes to the chameleon plant, though, we actually brought it into our garden not by mistake,
we got a plum from
by mistake.
Yeah, we have really nice neighbors around us, and so she had a whole flower bed of them. It's super pretty, and little did we know. So really, my advice also, like, check what's invasive in your areas, like what grows just spreads underground roots, and it was really tough.
But one thing that we do with that one is this will be the 3rd year that we've removed it from our garden. So 3 years ago we took it out of our garden, and already last year it started being less and less. And every time you see a bit of the green coming up, you have to clip it off, because you can dig it up if you want to, but it's part of this longer system, so you're not going to get it. But if you can keep it from getting a big enough leaf, because the more energy it gets from the sun, then that rhizome is just going to get stronger. You're keeping to feed the plant. So even if you see a leaf and you don't have time to dig it all up, you trim that off. And slowly by slowly, it's not as wild and uncontrollable as it once was. So patient, it's another thing that just takes time.
And to that, I would say also, if you take those things away from the chameleon plant, if it's invasive, make sure not to put it in the compost, because I made mistakes sometimes.
I was about to ask about that.
Because then you toss it in the compost, and it's just gonna be super happy, and then later on you're gonna toss it out, even bits of that, then you'll have it everywhere in the garden.
One more question about chameleon plants. Let's say the rhizome is growing between the hostas rhizome or echinacea rhizome, and it's kind of mixed, mingle together. How do you deal with this situation?
So we have the chameleon that comes up in our blanket flower quite a bit, and I can't dig it up, because if I do, then I'm going to be digging up the blanket flower, which is my favorite one. So that's where I'm just cutting off the green that's coming up out of the ground, and that's keeping the plant from getting any stronger. Is it the best solution? I don't know. I'm sure Monty Don knows the solution, or someone else. We don't. We control it as best we can, and we don't feel guilty for not doing anything else. We do the best we can, and we. Yeah.
But I think you also make it a habit, if you're going in your garden, like during the week, like let's say every second day or every day, even, like if you're going in the garden 5 minutes, like, you see like a really invasive perennial weed or whatever, like if you see it small, and go ahead and get that out right away, instead of waiting like a month, because it's going to be even harder getting all those invasive ones or weeds away.
It's so cold here, and I think after this video I'm go right to my garden and pull those weeds out.
And also,
oh my god, it's so cold.
The earlier you get them, because right now they're already taking nutrients away from the soil. And
I'll wear my ski jacket, everything, to protect from the cold. So here's my next question. I think this is for me again. I inherit this perennial flowers in my garden from the previous owner of the house, and she has beautiful hydrangea, peonies, irises, Horser hellebores, and there's a lot of herbaceous perennials. And herbaceous mean in winter they die back to the ground and you see nothing. And in my first or couple year, I'm trying to plant like marigolds or maybe petunia on my flower bed, and end up that later in the season something come up on that spot. So do you have any tips for me and for anybody like me who tried not to plant annuals on top of these herbaceous perennial flowers that dormant in the ground during winter time?
Yeah.
First of all, I have to say that happens to me too. I think I remember all the spots on my spring bulbs, and then I dig down in one, and so it does happen. But I would say if you in the spring, like when you trim down the old growth from the perennials, try to leave like a little stem left over, or like if you have the ones that totally disappear, like liatas just disappear, but make sure keep a little stem left so you kind of know, okay, here there's something coming, so you don't start digging there. Sometimes in the ones I totally forget about, I have a little label or a wooden little stick I add in, but that's my best suggestions to making sure you don't dig down into those.
We also don't cut down until we're doing it now because we had a really mild winter. Although now it's -10, but we've
it was
Celsius, not Fahrenheit. So, but anyway, so we wait until the end of winter, early spring to cut down, and that'll help. If you cut down in the autumn, then it's really going to be empty. But if you wait until now, you can, some of that new growth is already coming, makes it a little bit easier. But then it just happens, and you say, "Oops," and you put a popsicle stick, and you don't do it next year. So yeah.
That's true. You kind of have to learn and remember the spot, right? I try to put like stick on some of them, but again that's a lot. So yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So
our garden looks like a popsicle graveyard. They're just little all over. So you just do what you got to do, right?
Yeah. We almost close to the end of this video, and now we're gonna do something more fun. I'm gonna ask you very, very difficult question, which is, to me, is like difficult to me because people ask me like, Crane, what is your top 3 flowers to grow? And I'm like, everything is my favorite. So I'm gonna ask you this question: what are your top 3 most favorite perennial flowers?
I would say like you, I love all the perennials, but if I should narrow it down, and maybe they are different from yours, but definitely lupins is one of my favorite ones. Geum, and then also salvia is my top 3 because they are a great combination. Also in the garden, they work really well together. Also, if you look into foliage, they are so different. Also,
there are so many kind of salvia. Which one that you like the most?
Ostfriesland is really nice, and also the Cardona with the black stems are really nice. I like those. I know you don't really like really purple ones, but I think they do such a pop of color.
It's the Salvia nemorosa, that one.
Nemorosa, yes.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to agree. The blanket flower is the only one. If you could only choose one flower in the whole world, it would be, the blanket flower for me.
Because it flowers such a long time.
It flowers such a long time, and it's so pretty.
Next question. What are your top 3 least favorite perennial flowers? Except chameleon plants.
We just talked about the chameleon plant, yes. That's actually, I was really thinking, just now. I don't have a lot of least favorite, just the chameleon plant.
I have one, and we have it in our garden. And no one else is going to agree with me, but hollyhocks are not my favorite. And the reason
I think I know. Okay.
Okay. The reason is because here, especially, they mean the end of summer to me. That when they're finished, man, they're finished. And to me, it feels like summer is over, and that's quite a sad feeling. Even though autumn is beautiful and we have things that are coming in, the dahlias, whatever, but man, when a hollyhock goes, it goes.
Yeah, with the foliage.
And that makes it one of my least favorite.
I don't know. I don't know what's my least favorite.
You have to
I,
choose.
I I think it would be the hosta, the regular hosta, with the spiky leaf. For some reason, they're just like this, like weed to me. So
Oh, they're so iconic here. Hostas
Yeah.
are such a summer plant here in Denmark. We love them.
you
And
like
they're
you
great
like them?
out in the garden. I even have a colleague at work, and she at her house she cuts off the flower because she doesn't like the flower stem how it looks. She only has them for the foliage.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I mean I like some varieties, but the regular varieties that spread all over my gardens, I'm gonna get rid of them this year.
You could dig them up and pot them on and sell them at your roadside stand.
No.
No, sorry, everyone. No hostas for sale
I,
at Dream.
I think there's already a lot of them in New Jersey. It's like everywhere in New Jersey. I used to love hosta, and then I get into the variegated variety, like beautiful leaves.
Yeah,
And now it's time to like make some room for hollyhock.
Yay!
Yay! All right. Next question. What are the easiest perennial flowers for beginners to grow? Top 3.
Top 3. Ooh. Okay, echinacea I would say is the first one. Hollyhocks and there's a few though. I like Liatris too, but for beginners, of course, that one. Some of them need cold stratification where they need changing temperatures, but yeah. Rudbeckia is nice too.
I have one to add to that.
Yeah.
Sedum is really easy. Oh, not really growing from seed, not that, but just they're easy growing from seed, but from cuttings because they grow from cuttings so well.
Yeah.
As far as beginners go, sedum.
Yeah. Digitalis is really nice. So I know it's just like not a perennial, but that's really easy too, and great as like great to have those perennials that self-sowing, so you get them all over.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, I think it's kind of my top 3 easiest perennials to the cornflowers, echinacea, and rudbeckia. And a lot of people here, grow them. I think for beginner, if you want to start growing them, you can actually take the seed or the rhizome from your neighbors or your friends. Some of us would have that already. So my last question is, can you please tell us about your YouTube channel?
Sure. We started our channel. This will be this summer will be our 3rd summer. I think we started at the same time as Ukraine. I think this summer will be your 3rd summer too. Maybe? No? Anyway.
This will be my 2nd. I'm almost reaching my 2 years anniversary.
Okay. So we had anyway, you didn't ask that question. So I will tell you our channel. This is what our channel is about. We talk too much. Our channel, we started it this year, our 3rd summer. We started our channel because Lars was on Instagram. We were enjoying meeting and talking to people here in Denmark. It's a Danish Instagram. And then we thought, what if we did it in English? Could we meet more people from all over the world? And that's really why we started Instagram. We wanted a record of of YouTube. We wanted a record of what we're growing, what happened last year, that sort of idea. And instead of using iCloud, we decided to use YouTube. And then as soon as we started posting and we started getting comments and feedbacks from people in Texas and India and South Korea and fantastic people like Crane, and it was, okay, this is bigger than just a hobby. This is a whole community out there. And
it's a great way to meet other people. And a lot of people also love that, it is just sharing our experience with, like, a lot of people also like totally beginners, like, okay, from how to get, like, what kind of pots do you use? What kind of soil? Okay. If I show them in a video, like, okay, use a spray instead of overwater with a watering can for small baby perennials. Like, people are like, and then we chit chat about that. That's really great.
So it's kind of a mix of of how we do it. We don't like to say, I mean, we title things how to blah, 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 because that's what YouTube wants you to do and that's what Google wants you to do. But really, it's how we do XYZ. And that's really what we want to share, just how we do something, what's working for us. The two of us just out in the garden. Sometimes our son joins us, although he's getting older now, so he's not as excited to be on in the garden. But that's really what it is. It's just two guys who enjoy gardening in Denmark. Yeah, that's what it is.
Ellen and Lars, thank you so much for being in my channel. And everyone watching this, please don't forget to go to their channel. I put the video in the end here, okay? Oh, maybe right here, okay? Just go there. All right, bye-bye. You have to do this. You have to do this, it's my thing.
Okay, bye.
As I do this.
Oh, I'm so bad.
Hello everyone, how are you doing?
I love your intro. Hello.
We need to have words at the end.
I mean, I cannot film when there's people around me because it looks silly. Okay. Hello everyone, how are you doing? Welcome back to Perennial Gardens again. But in this video, I have